Coming up on the April 14th edition of Sports Extra, the independent review of Mary Willingham's data regarding some student-athlete reading levels is out. We break down what it means and what's next.
And despite the controversies, there are many good things that happen in the land of the Tar Heels. We show you how Carolina athletes are giving back to the community.
Spring is in the air, and the UNC football players look like they're ready to get the season started. All that and more. Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
A lot of sports teams were playing in the beautiful weather this weekend, but it was off-the-field events that captured the attention of the UNC community. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Luis Fernandez.
And I'm Kate Eastman. The university has released an independent review of Mary Willingham's data set, with officials saying there is no evidence to support the literacy claims that have been widely reported in news media accounts.
Now, just in case you've been living under a rock, or for the past 4 months, or you're not from around here, here's a quick reminder of who Mary Willingham is. Mary Willingham is a reading specialist who worked for the Student Center for Success in Academic Counseling from 2004 to 2012. During that time, she assessed reading comprehension in 176 athletes and found that 40 to 60% of that subset of revenue athletes read at or below an 8th grade level. The release of that data spurred the academic scandal that is ongoing at UNC.
On Friday afternoon, Provost Jim Dean released an executive summary and full reports from the independent analysis of Willingham's data. The university paid $5,000 each to 3 adult learning experts. They are Professor Nathan R. Kunsel of the University of Minnesota, Lee Branham Martin from Georgia State University, and Dennis Kramer from the University of Virginia. Let's start with Kunsel. Kunsel came to the conclusion that the Scholastic Aptitude Test for Adults, or SATA, cannot be viewed as a reasonable or comprehensive assessment of adult literacy. He did, however, say that those who struggle with one test would often struggle in others of a similar nature. In addition, Kunsel said that the UNC athletes who took the SATA might not have taken the low-stakes setting of the test very seriously, and thus might not have tried very hard. Branham Martin offered similar conclusions, saying that the SATA is outdated and a reading comprehension portion should have been given alongside of the reading vocabulary subtest. In addition, Branham says that there are explicit warnings against assigning grade equivalent scores lower than the 10th grade because students that young were not part of the original sample group that took the SATA exam. And finally, Kramer says grade level equivalents don't provide an accurate measure of student readiness or ability. Kramer said that SATA is biased downward for males and African Americans. In addition, Kramer emphasizes the importance of athletes below normal reading proficiency levels, leaving college with levels at or above standards measured in the NCAA's graduation success rate, or GSR. UNC ranks highly in this category.
Of course, there's much more to these findings. Ardelia D'Ambra has carefully reviewed each of the reports from the 3 experts and the university's 10-page executive summary of those reports. She's live outside South Building with more about what the report said and what it all means.
That's right, Lewis. It takes looking very carefully at what these experts have to say to really understand what's going on. One important thing to note from the outset of all of this is that these 3 experts were hired by the university to conduct this review, and they were paid to sort through and either validate or debunk Mary Willingham's claims that some student athletes read at elementary school levels. Now, between 2004 and 2012, the 176 student athletes in question took that Scholastic Abilities Test for adults upon arriving on campus to screen whether they had learning disabilities. Now, what's interesting is these 3 experts about their conclusions along the validity of whether the SATA was a good measurement tool in measuring literacy levels. Now, a few statements from Kunsel, Branham Martin, and Kramer in the executive summary were things like, while SATA results can be informative, they are not accepted by the psychological community as an appropriate measure of reading grade level and literacy. Another statement says the SATA subtest is not a true reading test and should not be used to draw conclusions about student reading ability. And another thing, we have to remember the data that these individuals were given. They only had SATA vocabulary scores, and they did not include in their review the SAT verbal scores and one-on-one work results that Mary Willingham says she included in her claims against the university. Now, what experts had was to review was only what the university administrators sent to them. Georgia State Lee Branham Martin says the given scores are not sufficient to substantiate grade levels and other information would be required. So still based on what they all had, all three experts concluded that it was possible Mary Willingham misread the findings and inaccurately assigned grade levels to the scores of student athletes. So for now, the university hopes to close the book on this issue, with Provost Jim Dean stating himself in his own words, "I'm sure that we'll hear back from people who have questions about the analysis, but we feel pretty confident that we've done this the right way." Lewis, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Delia. Soon after the university released the report, Mary Willingham issued this statement. "I am disappointed that the university neglected to take even the most basic steps to ensure the integrity, impartiality, and fairness of its supposedly independent review of my data. The fact that they engaged in this exercise without ever seeking input from me or my research partner, and without the raw scores or an examination of the full battery of tests on a majority of these same athletes available in accessibility resources, speaks volumes. UNC personnel with the knowledge and expertise to verify my claims continue to remain and/or are being forced to remain silent."
Willingham is standing by her numbers. The university says those numbers are way off, and that Willingham based her analysis on the wrong measure, the SATA. She says she looked at many other things in addition to SATA. We decided it would be instructive to look at a different set of numbers, some provided by the university, others we found by digging through university records. Susanna Black joins us in the studio for that analysis.
That's right, Kate. CNN says it focused its reporting not on SATA scores, one of the reading assessment tests Mary Willingham says she used, but on SAT scores. Numbers that the university provided in a January press release show that 39 athletes, 34 in the university sports, failed to meet what the university called the CNN threshold, a score of 400 on the SAT verbal. That score is what CNN experts deem to be an indication of college readiness. So let's look at those numbers and keep in mind that the way the SAT is designed, the worst score a student can make is 200. Here are the average SAT verbal scores for incoming freshmen at UNC for the years in question, 2004 to 2012. You can see here, the low is 638 in 2004 and 6, and the high is 646 in 2007. But there's very little variation from year to year. The 9-year average, 642. So how did the 39 students who scored less than 400 on the verbal test compare to their classmates? Some 250 points below average. If we look into those data even further, we see that 43 students scored below 800 with math and verbal scores combined, and 96 students scored less than a 900 during this time period. That would be approximately 400 or 450 on each section. The average score with math and verbal combined for the 9 years is a 1298, so that's 139 students, an average of 15 per year, who scored at least 400 points below the average total score. We don't know whether some or all of these 139 are student athletes. We asked the admissions office to give us a breakdown of these scores. We wanted to know if 39 student athletes scored below 400 on verbal. How many scored just a few points above 400? Admissions director Steve Farmer told us that there are no reports that show that breakdown. He did want to remind us that admissions officers always take a holistic approach and don't rely solely on test scores. This all leaves a lot of questions, and two we have to ask are, what would it take to counterbalance a verbal score of less than 400? Again, that's 250 points lower than the average. And assuming an SAT verbal score of 400 actually indicates college readiness, does it indicate Carolina readiness? Back to you guys.
Thanks, Susanna. Maybe everyone has been talking about the wrong set of numbers all along. Former U.S. Justice Department and Federal Bureau of Investigation official Kenneth Weinstein is still examining the causes and extent of corruption involving no-show classes at UNC. The university has yet to give a time frame for when we'll have the results of that investigation. University News Services was unable to schedule interviews we requested with Chancellor Carol Folt, Provost Jim Dean, and Director of Admissions Stephen Farmer.
Now, lost in the situation is the vast majority of student athletes who are successful and positive examples for their peers. One student-led initiative at UNC, One Carolina, is designed to shine a bright light on the countless good deeds, great ideas, and outstanding work coming from the Carolina community. Hayden Jones has the story.
It all began with a text message. When Anthony Fernandez, a 12-year-old Morganton student, was having a tough time battling muscular dystrophy, his teacher reached out to sophomore Taylor Sharp for help.
Get an autograph or something for them. They said he was a huge UNC fan and really just could use something special because he was going through some tough times. So I was with Marcus at dinner and showed him the text, and we decided that we could probably do more than just an autograph.
Instead, Sharp and Marcus Page gave Anthony Fernandez a day he'll never forget. And One Carolina's first project was born.
One Carolina kind of came about with collective groups of meetings between students of just what they wanted to express about their university. And as this Anthony story came about, that's when we realized that that in itself is a great story to tell from the lens of what One Carolina wants to express.
The first class experience any Tar Heel fan would dream of began right here at Sutton's.
We met him at Sutton's, and that's where we had the first initial surprise of where he thought he was just eating with me, a family friend of his teacher, and then Marcus and Leslie came out from behind the counter at Sutton's. And from there, we walked to the old well, drove him to the Dean Dome, went into the basketball museum, we went into the basketball offices, he met the coaching staff, and then we went over to the weight room where the players were lifting weights, and he got to meet all of them there. And then he sat in on practice and got to watch it all and even give some pointers to Marcus and Coach Williams.
Wanted to put together a really great day for a good kid who deserves this.
Although Anthony is only 12, he will forever be a part of the Carolina family.
I'm Anthony Hernandez, and I'm a Tar Heel.
Anthony may be small, but he is Carolina's biggest fan. Sharp and Page arranged Duke tickets for Anthony and his family. Anthony made it to Chapel Hill for both nights of the Duke game. That is more than the Blue Devils can say for themselves. In Chapel Hill, I'm Hayden Jones reporting.
This is the official launch of the program, and organizers hope to be able to affect the lives of many other young Tar Heel fans in the years to come. The baseball team provided plenty of fireworks in an important and heated battle against Wake Forest this weekend.
All the excitement when Sports Extra returns.
Connect with us online by liking the Sports Extra Facebook page and following us on Twitter @SportsExtra_UNC.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow. I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Carolina football had its spring game on Saturday, and with starting spots up for grabs, including the quarterback position, players pushed themselves with the hopes of impressing coaches. In this epic battle of blue versus white, blue came out on top 38-17. Everyone, including everyone's grandpa, was focused on the quarterback battle between number 12 Marquise Williams and number 10 Mitch Trubisky. Both had similar stats, passing for 0 touchdowns and throwing 1 pick each. Wide receiver number 14 Quinshaw Davis was actually the best passer on the day, throwing this 37-yard strike to number 5 TJ Thorpe. Now, while wide receivers played well, running backs reigned supreme, as sophomores number 8 TJ Logan and number 1 Chris Francis ran for a combined 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, or about 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
The North Carolina men's baseball team kicked off its series matchup against Wake Forest on Friday night. The Tar Heels started the series in impressive fashion, defeating the Wake Forest Demon Deacons 9-0. The game sprang to life in the 5th inning when Tyler Ramirez hit a grand slam to extend the Tar Heel lead to 7 and effectively end Wake Forest's chances. Ramirez wasn't the only impressive Tar Heel, though. Pitcher Trent Thornton matched career-high 10 strikeouts in this blowout win. The Tar Heels were off to a strong start in the second game of the series, scoring a run in the 1st inning and 2 more in the 3rd for an early 3-0 lead. The Demon Deacons tied the game with runs in the 4th and 5th, but decisive plays like this inning-ending double play in the 8th kept the Deacons at bay. Sophomore pitcher Riley Hovis got the save. UNC edged out Wake Forest 4-3. The Tar Heels celebrated their series victory with fireworks. Head coach Mike Fox says winning helps to breed confidence.
Winning cures all ills, so everybody feels good when you win. But again, it's just a short turnaround, and you got to be ready to go again tomorrow.
The Heels failed to grab that 3rd win Sunday against Wake Forest. Even with 2 home runs by Michael Russell and Zach Daly, the Diamond Heels couldn't get enough runs on the board. The team lost to the Demon Deacons 5-6. Carolina will travel to Durham Bulls Athletic Park on Tuesday night to take on the Wolfpack.
The men's lacrosse team traveled to the Carrier Dome this weekend to take on Syracuse in the Heels' final ACC matchup of the season. The Heels struck first, jumping out to a quick 3-0 lead. Junior Jimmy Bitter posted 4 goals for the Heels. The second half, well, it was more of a more balanced battle as the team swapped leads until regulation ended with a 10-tie all. The Orange outshot the Heels 6-1 in overtime, but goalie Kieran Burke had 3 huge saves, including this one here, right there. However, during the second overtime period, attackman Billy Ward netted the go-ahead goal to give Cuse its first conference win against UNC. Unfortunately, the loss means the reigning ACC champs fell to 2-3 in the conference and won't advance to this year's ACC tournament. Now, when I say Canada, which sport comes to mind? Hockey, right? Nah. What about lacrosse? That's right, lacrosse. Canada is turning out lacrosse players left and right, and some have found a home in Carolina. Madison Way has a story.
Freshman Shane Simpson of Hamilton, Ontario, noticed he was good at lacrosse at an early age.
A lot of kids my age, we kind of started like 7th, 8th grade. Some of us a little bit earlier, but I mean, we just kind of noticed that there was potential there, so we kind of noticed that we could do something with it.
That's when he knew it was time to go outside. Simpson, like many Canadians, grew up playing indoor lacrosse, a game where tight play areas lend themselves to tighter stick work. It's that background that makes Canadians appealing to UNC's head lacrosse coach, Joe Bresci.
They see the field so well, but you know, anytime they get an open shot, you know it's going to finish. I think that's what's fun to watch them play, is that they're so skilled.
But first, Simpson and other Canadians, like his UNC teammate Chad Tutton, needed to prove they could play outdoors like Americans, and that meant giving up another Canadian pastime.
There's a lot of kids that had to give up the hockey dream for field lacrosse, which is what I had to do, and I'm sure Chad did as well.
Giving up hockey and leaving the country to play a sport is hard, but Simpson wants more of his countrymen to join the Heels.
I mean, I wanted to say that I'd be like the second Canadian and kind of pave that path like Chad started for me, and I want to keep paving that path for younger Canadians.
And of course, the southern weather attracts some recruits to Carolina too. Well, usually.
I mean, the coaches come around to me every day. I'm warming up and I got my hands in my pockets all cold, and they're like, what are you doing? You're from Canada. I was like, I moved down here for a reason, coach.
Another reason to move down south? To compete with former ACC champions at UNC. Reporting in Chapel Hill, I'm Madison Way.
Simpson and Tutton rank 4th and 5th on the team in points this season.
Carolina's top-ranked women's lacrosse team fell to 3rd-ranked Syracuse 12-9 on Saturday. Sydney Holman led the Heels with 2 goals and 2 assists, and Abby Friend scored 3 goals to move past Becky Lynch into 2nd place in UNC history with 231 career points. UNC will play Duke Wednesday night in Kenan Stadium. For members of the track teams, Senior Day is about more than competition.
It's a chance to interact and get accolades from their fans.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much.
We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. All those boys are much too much. Those boys.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but things changed. Teaching didn't seem that cool anymore, so you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Amazing things are happening in teaching, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. It's like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
With the ACC Championship slated to begin Thursday, the track and field teams competed in its final regular season meet Saturday at home. While most athletes chose to rest in preparation for the conference championships, some Tar Heels did suit up. Xenia Ron set personal records in the long jump and the 100-meter hurdles, winning both. Well, it looks like she's ready to go on Thursday. UNC also claimed victories in the men's pole vault and the 4x100 relay on a fairly quiet day at Belk Track. 8 Tar Heels were honored as part of Senior Day, and head coach Harless Metters says he appreciates everything they've contributed to the team.
They were here before I got here, really pushed the program forward and made a tremendous impact in sort of creating the better blue that we want to see now. So I'm really proud of those guys and girls.
But it wasn't just student athletes running Saturday, well, sort of running. The second ever UNC faculty mile competition had 5 participants, with Professor John Hussey earning the trophy. Hussey ran a time of 5 minutes and 52 seconds. I don't know about you folks, but I'm tired just watching them. A sub 6-minute mile for a professor? Wow, I'm impressed.
And it was a good day to be a senior for both tennis teams as the men and women took on Clemson and Maryland respectively for Senior Day Sunday. The 8th-ranked Tar Heel men walked away with their 7th consecutive win, beating 20th-ranked Clemson Sunday 6-1. Junior Oystein Stereo had a good match, winning in both singles and doubles. The Tar Heel men will take on Duke Sunday in Durham. The 3rd-ranked Tar Heel women went home with a 6-1 victory against Maryland Sunday. Jamie Loeb cruised in singles, while the freshman duo of Loeb and Haley Carter continued to shine in doubles. Women's tennis team will be back in action Thursday in a road match against Georgia Tech.
The women's softball team traveled to Georgia Tech this weekend. The Yellow Jackets won the series by sweeping the doubleheader on Saturday, but the Heels were able to grab a win in the end, 15-6 in Sunday's game. Akila Mateen had a big day at the plate for Carolina, going 5 for 5 with 2 RBIs. The Heels are set to travel to James Madison for a doubleheader on Wednesday. Today, Carolina athletes walked down the blue carpet to celebrate their achievements in the past year.
And we're live from the Rammies, next on Sports Extra.
Don't forget to tune in to our sister shows, Carolina Week at 5 p.m. every Wednesday on Time Warner 24 or Campus Channel 34, and Carolina Connection at 8:30 every Saturday morning on WCHL 97.9 FM.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Used to call me the buttered biscuit. Back then, I was a sex expert. I know about birth control, too.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
Teachers today are finding new ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable.
say. My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
I wouldn't use this one.
He helps me with my decision making.
Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
We've all seen them.
Performing on the sidelines at Keene Stadium and center court for Roy's boys,
But how well do you actually know the members of the dance team? Casey Bennett reports about the double life of Carolina's very own Spirit Squad.
For the UNC dance team, pepping up the crowd is all in a day's work. And that's only half of what this talented team does. Their other job? Fighting for the title, national champion. I had the opportunity to travel with the team to Daytona, Florida, the site of the Collegiate Dance and Cheer Nationals. Following the dancers allowed me to see the competition from their point of view. And taking center stage is not as easy as these ladies make it look.
Walking out on stage was overwhelming. I felt my heart pounding, and it's hard to believe that this could be the last time you're walking out on stage with this team. It's such a happy feeling, but it's so bittersweet because I could do this every day, all day with them.
UNC performed 2 different routines this weekend, jazz and hip-hop. Although the team didn't make finals in hip-hop, they finished 5th overall in jazz with a nearly perfect score of 9.502, the Heels' highest finish since 2009.
I would say it was exhilarating. I wouldn't say I was nervous. Nerves are good, but not nervous in the sense of not being prepared. We're very prepared, so I would just say it's exhilarating. But when you have all those people cheering for you, it's a great feeling.
It's a great weekend for us. It's our first time back in over 5 years. So our goal was to make finals, and we probably did about as well as we could have. The girls' energy was up. They hit their routine each time they performed it. I honestly could not have been more proud.
From the stadium, to the court, to the stage, UNC's dance team is ready to impress. So next time you're cheering on UNC athletics, don't forget to watch the Carolina girls. They're sure to put on one heel of a show. From Daytona, I'm Casey Bennett reporting.
The dance team is already getting ready for next year and is holding tryouts on Wednesday in the Eddie Smith Fieldhouse. It's a big night for UNC's athletes, the year-end award show. The Rammy is just about to kick off in Memorial Hall. Reporter and cross-country runner Kylie McCoy is there now and dressed to the nines. Kylie?
That's right, Kate. I'm here just outside Memorial Hall getting ready for the Rammies. Right behind me is the blue carpet, and joining us now is sophomore distance runner for the UNC track team, Lizzie Whelan. Lizzie, tell me, what are you wearing tonight?
I'm just wearing a dress from Bavello.
And speaking of outfits, you know, one of your teammates, O'Neal Walness, was nominated tonight for Best Dressed. What do you think his chances are of winning that superlative?
I think actually he might win it. O'Neal's always looking great, so he has a good chance.
And, you know, the team is always so competitive, even off the track, and that really shows tonight with all the titles that each team is fighting for. Tell me a little bit about the team's Minute to Win It video that you guys put together this year.
I think our Minute to Win It video is pretty funny. There's a lot of dancing, incorporating of hurdles, so it should be good.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the video?
You'll see.
Okay, a surprise. So, you know, this year's Rammies is expected to be bigger and better than last year. What was one of your favorite memories from last year's event?
I really loved when my teammate Marissa got up there and sang with her friend Benton Moss. That was pretty special. It was really great to see like an athlete like her who's so great on the track be so musically talented, and the superlatives were pretty funny too. So.
Okay, great. Well, have fun tonight, and thank you so much for joining us. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, guys. That was Kylie McCoy live from the Rammies.
You know, wouldn't it be awesome to attend the Rammies, Kate? I think it would be.
Oh, it looks like so much fun. And, you know, as far as superlatives going, Denzel Robinson looks exactly like Ludacris, so I wasn't surprised about the look-alike nomination there.
He really does.
Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Have a great night. Thanks for watching.